Well, I did want to talk about you as a pastor, and I wanted to know more about day-to-days of being a pastor, and maybe there's some things we don't realize about being a pastor.
Yeah, so thanks, Joe. That's a great question. So one of the trickiest things I think that people don't realize is that um, the expectations for pastors are that you don't really form like friendships with your church members, which makes it really hard. And I mean, like on some level, you have to. I mean, like I've known you guys forever here, and at the same time, you're really supposed to be drawing that line where, like, especially once you leave a congregation, you're really expected to pretty well sever ties with everybody, and it's a good thing because it allows for the next pastor to establish themselves and not kind of get in the way of that. And sometimes when that doesn't happen, when pastors kind of stick around, that can be tricky. But we're really supposed to keep our distance. And then just because we're supposed to always be mindful of not forming those friendships or dual relationships, that can be really hard to really connect with people. So and I like, especially in a community like this, it's sometimes pretty tough because I have a handful of friends that are not church members, but most of the people I end up spending time with are. So it makes things like the improv stuff and the stuff I've done with the high schoolers really nice, because you actually do connect with people in the community that don't have to be your parishioners, because that can be kind of tough, because you never know, even if it's a friendship, if at some point you're going to end up having to be a pastor to the person, their family. And I've also done some stuff with the PodPaca Community Theater. Now we've done a couple of renditions of the Frankenstein radio play, so that was a really cool thing and Mrs. Reeves is a part of that too. So Monica and a whole bunch of people, some of whom I just met through that process of doing that improv stuff. That's been kind of nice. So yeah, I it's great. I mean, it's like I love the people here, and I'm called to love the people here, but I can't get too close to them in like the traditional sort of bond of friendship that you would have with other people. So that's probably one of the trickiest things for pastors, and people really get frustrated when pastors have to say, I'm sorry, I can't stay in contact with you because I'm leaving for another church or retiring or whatever. And that's one of the hardest things. But I think the classic misunderstanding is that we just work on Sundays, which is so totally not true. We're recording this on a weekday, and I carved out some time, but it's been a very, very eventful weekday here to do this. And it's really, I love it. I love being a pastor because you're constantly doing something different. I mean, it's like I can't think of more of another career where you're doing more things that are totally different. I mean, because like one minute you're preaching a sermon or teaching a class, and then you're in a hospital giving communion to somebody, or there's you're kind of like a technology expert these days. You're sort of like a producer of a live streamed thing. Joe's been one of our live streamers, super helpful. That's been really important now. But so yeah, there's just like always different things. I mean, there's management elements to it, and it's there, and then there's just some things that you just don't do anywhere else. And you work with so many different people, which I love too. That's my dad was a pastor, and just always appreciated how much he was able to tend to a variety of people, and I really like that. So
Yeah, I do want to touch on the technology side of things, especially since there was a pandemic.
yep.
But you have a YouTube channel now
Yep.
for church that I think is just great. Like, it was originally used for COVID reasons, but now you're using it when the pandemic's over, and uh and it's been still such a great success. Have you been amazed of how many people are going to church, and also the amount of people that are watching it online? Like the Easter Sunday service, there's a ton of people that went to the services in person, but 225 people in the last 2 days have watched that service
That's
online.
cool. Yeah, I mean, it's like the thing that we've had people, this is really cool, who came here and have been coming here regularly, who first found us online, which is really, really cool. There are some people who can only see us online. There are some members who, had to like move during the pandemic and haven't been able to establish themselves in like a physical church community. So we've had people in other states who are still, worshiping with us. We had a family with a terrible tragedy in their family that was able to reconnect from way out west, by way of this. We've had people who have had to, move into nursing homes, and sometimes in nursing homes outside of our area that are still able to take part. And it's been really interesting because, especially like as the pandemic was a little more ferocious, I've done visits with people, and I'll say like, it's so good to see you again. It's been a while. It's like, well, it's not for me. Lady will say, I just saw you 2 days ago on the YouTube thing. So that's been really cool. It's also, it's a little bit daunting to know that you've got the ability for that many different people to see you, and you hope that much more that it's gonna be meaningful and connect with people and reach people with the good news. But it's fascinating, and I don't know that we would be. I'm quite sure we wouldn't have gotten around to it now if it weren't for COVID. So it's definitely propelled us into some things that we absolutely needed to do, and we'll keep doing, thankfully. So yeah, technology is something else. I mean, you think about how much the world has changed, and it does make a challenge, because you really would like to be able to connect with people in the most intimate and deep ways possible, but sometimes people can't do that. So it's been great to be able to. We had church members, who hadn't been able to attend for a long time from nursing homes and places that have been able to connect again. So yeah, and I mean, it's very easy to share too. I mean, people can. It's like if something really resonates with them, they can very easily pass it on to somebody else, and you've got a lot more reach with what you're trying to do, which is really cool.